Afternoon, everybody. Thanks for joining me. We're going to take a look at your storm forecast for tomorrow and Thursday. Long duration event. Tomorrow won't be quite as dramatic as Thursday, but weather and travel are going to be tough both days. We're going to talk about the details with power outages, how much snow you're going to get, when you're going to get snow versus sleet versus rain, all those kinds of things. And I'm going to try to give you the dose of reality that there's definitely uncertainty. Tiny shifts in what's going on could make a difference. Although this storm is definitely pretty well modeled, haven't been any major model shifts. We shifted a little more towards sleet tomorrow than we were originally thinking a couple days ago. That's been really the only shift. And that's going to be probably the hardest part of the forecast. Thursday is mostly snow for just about everybody. I'll show you that as we go. Everybody's going to get some accumulating snow on Thursday. But the question is how much snow versus how much sleet tomorrow at the higher elevations. That'll be the one thing that can kind of affect, for the most part, where exactly how much snow we get. But here's what's going on. You can see lots of complex weather, big severe, a couple waves of big severe outbreaks, providing kind of all the energy. We're tapping lots of Gulf moisture. We're going to start to tap a lot of Atlantic moisture. I'm going to show you how a storm is, even though we have this storm, which is really getting wrapped up and kind of maturing into fullness across the upper Midwest, how we're already starting to see the seeds of our secondary low that's going to develop off the coast. And that's what's going to keep us from, if this storm just kind of raced off to the north and east, like sometimes storms do here to our west, we would be getting maybe a little bit of mixed precipitation at the beginning, and then we would go straight to rain. But that is not what's going to happen here. This storm is essentially cutting off in this area. It is going to slowly die, mostly in place. And then we are going to redevelop a storm off the coast of basically near the Delmarva Peninsula. And it is going to slowly creep up the coast. And there's going to be just enough cold air held in to keep us mostly snow, with a bunch of sleet tomorrow, I think. I think there's going to be just enough warm temperatures at a not right near the surface, but a little bit above the surface. We're going to get just above freezing, and that above freezing layer will lead to sleet. That's what's going to happen. You can kind of see how that's going to happen too. See all this moisture that's streaming north. Where that's streaming north, the surface air is not streaming north in quite the same way, but this is sort of at your mid levels or low to mid levels of the atmosphere. You're streaming up some warmer air, and that's going to lead to a small layer of above freezing temperatures, which will change that snow to sleet for a bunch of us to start before the surface low really starts to crank in, and then it starts to draw in some colder air at those levels, and we change back over to snow. So let's take a look at radar currently. Looks like we're just about to begin precipitating, but actually this kind of first wave is going to slide off to our south and east for the most part. Could see a few sprinkles in far southern Vermont today out of this. But the bulk of this is going to slide south of us. But then we are going to start with the precipitation really kind of as this band gets going, kind of starts to head in our direction. And as we start to get the surface low going. So precipitation mostly holds off till tomorrow morning. We could see a little bit of light precipitation overnight tonight, and that would come in the form of probably a mix of sleet and rain for the most part. Rain at the lower elevations, sleet at the higher elevations before we start tomorrow. And again, we'll try to give you a timeline of how things would start. Tomorrow morning, conditions shouldn't be too bad. Kids might go to school tomorrow morning, although they might hold them back just because later in the day it could get slick. Sleet will do just as bad. Sleet's just as bad to drive on as snow. Actually, in some ways, sleet is worse to drive on than snow. And so I think sleet for a lot of areas, by noon, we're starting to get some steady. It may not be completely steady. There may be some kind of waves of precipitation that move through, but I think the roads will be kind of slick anytime after about 10 o'clock tomorrow morning. But at the time buses would normally be picking kids up, probably still dry in most areas or just a little bit of light sleet. So we'll have to see on schools tomorrow. I think early dismissals for kids who do go to schools will be very likely. Thursday's basically a no-go. No school on Thursday. You can pretty much lock that in. I just want to put the fronts here, and this gives you an idea of what's going on. Okay, here's basically they draw two low pressure systems. This should really be kind of consolidated into one, just for simplicity's sake. And then but you do see basically a warm front and then kind of a front that's stuck here as it's trying to push warm air north. And then we've got where that's stuck on the other side of that, we're starting to develop a couple of areas of low pressure. These will consolidate into one area of low pressure and eventually become the dominant force. But that doesn't fully happen until really Thursday morning. So still 36 hours away. Let's take a look at temperatures. You can see we're plenty warm today. That you'd be like, it's not gonna snow with temperatures or sleet for that matter, with temperatures in the 40s, and you'd be right. But dew points are quite low right now. We're pretty dry at the surface, so and temperatures are chilly aloft, and so just cold enough for snow. And so what's going to happen here is overnight. First of all, we're going to lose some of this as we go overnight. Even though there'll be cloud cover tonight, we will lose some of this, and temperatures will come down anyway, just due to cooling, and precipitation starts going to happen about the time that the sun would be coming out tomorrow morning. Also, dew points are low, and so the dew points it takes in order to saturate the atmosphere. What happens is the dew points need to come up, and as that happens, we get evaporative cooling because that's how you're saturating the atmosphere, and that cools the temperatures off. So even though it looks like it'd be plenty warm enough, we would be close to snow even today if precipitation moved in, or close to sleet at least. So yeah, we're gonna have to keep. So that's why, even though it doesn't feel like it, really, we are on the precipice of a winter weather event. Okay, this is a little hard to see here on the map, but this is pressure tendency. So basically how much the surface pressure has changed in the last 6 hours. And so I did want to just put this map up. First of all, you can see that we've got that rapidly developing storm. That's why the darker shades here, darker kind of cooler colors, means that pressure has been going down. But you also got a decent amount of this off to the east, and you can see a little bit, you can kind of see the beginnings of the hint of that, where the low pressure is going to form. The eventual secondary low pressure is going to form here across east, southeast, kind of basically right over Delaware. So, and then eventually, like I said, it's going to slide to our north and east. The exact track, still a little bit to be determined. That'll also help determine exactly how much snow we get on Thursday, how heavy the snow is, how close that track is to us. Are we in the sweet spot or not? Right now, it looks like we'll be pretty much in the sweet spot for that to happen. Okay, whoops, going the wrong direction here. So I want to give you kind of a timeline. So Wednesday by 2 p.m., and this is kind of how things start off and the first phase of the storm, the first few hours of the storm. I think most areas in southern Vermont see sleet. Might be more of a mix of snow and sleet, very far northern, like Killington area. But a lot of the rest of us are seeing sleet. This is like kind of light to moderate, enough to make it slippery, not enough to be piling up real fast. I think rain, maybe with a little sleet mixed in. I don't think there's going to be much freezing rain. The above freezing layer seems to be mostly quite a bit above the surface. So I think this will be mostly rain here in the valleys, and not icing, I don't think, for the most part. Could get a little icing in with the sleet, where you might have some freezing rain and sleet mixed in. So again, areas in orange here could be pretty tricky travel-wise. Certainly the pink up here, the snow and sleet, that'll be tough. But you might be okay, kind of headed up the Connecticut River Valley and across the Route 7 Valley corridor as well. Let's take a look. By 8 p.m., that snow is starting to creep down the greens. Snow and sleet still in kind of the foothills. And the valleys even are starting to kind of change to some snow and sleet. Sleet's still kind of holding on. You can see the sleet's pushed north, south, and the rain has pretty much changed over to at least some form of frozen precipitation for the most part by, I think, 8 p.m. Timing on this could be a plus or minus a couple of hours, but in general, this is what we're looking at. If you take a look at, next one. We take a look at precipitation type by Thursday at 2 a.m. Most everybody has changed to snow. We're still holding on to a little bit of a mix of sleet and snow in Bennington and Brattleboro, but otherwise we're pretty close to everybody having gone to snow. And by 8 a.m. on Thursday, we are, before we get to that, we're fully snow by 8 a.m. Thursday, basically everywhere. Eastern Massachusetts, maybe not, and certainly southeastern New Hampshire as well. But for the rest of us, we're basically all snow with whatever is left over. So, and it's going to snow a pretty good amount on Thursday. So we'll have, by Thursday, certainly you're going to wake up on Thursday morning. If you're in the foothills or in the mountains, you're already going to have plowable snow on the road. It's going to be slick. Even places that are still mixed in a little bit overnight will be changed over to snow. And then we'll get a decent amount on Thursday. And again, that depends somewhat on how close we get. But basically, these are the numbers we're looking at. I bumped them down just a tad because of the extra sleet from yesterday. But I still think this is about where we end up, plus or minus. Mostly, I think, if anything, we could bump these down another inch or two if we get more sleet than I'm expecting. That's probably the direction I would think is most likely to happen. But If we don't get any sleet, we'd probably bump these up another 3 or 4 inches. So there you go. That's sort of the overall total. About 4 to 6 inches to our south. In southern Vermont, we're mostly looking at 6 to 10 inches for the valley areas. Foothills, 10 to 16 inches. Mountaintops, ski areas, basically 12 to 18 inches. Again, places like Killington wouldn't be surprised to get close to 2 feet, depending on exactly how far north that sleet ends up getting. But generally, these are the numbers. So big numbers for snow, big problems on the road. Basically, Thursday is a no-go school-wise, I think, for basically everybody in southern Vermont. And in terms of power outages, it really sort of ends up, the sleet will not be a problem. Sleet is not a problem for power outages. So it's how long, and eventually we will change to a snow that's not as sticky. So I think we might be okay, but certainly anybody who's in the 10 to 16 or the 12 to 18 range could have some problems. We should all be kind of prepared that power outages are a possibility. I think the changing nature of the storm will help us. We're not going to get kind of stuck in the situation where we get that really sticky snow. It will happen probably for almost everybody for at least a period, but it probably won't happen for so long that power becomes a huge issue. That is with a caveat, that is not a guarantee. Everybody should be prepared to lose power. This storm certainly has the potential to cause power outages. I just don't think they're going to be super widespread, but be ready because it's definitely a storm that could have those issues with it. Do want to give you a quick kind of just details. Wednesday brings lighter precipitation that will mostly fall as wintry mix starting between 7 and 9 a.m. Wednesday evening, we transition to snow. Heaviest snowfalls between 12 a.m. Thursday, so at midnight, Wednesday into Thursday, through about noon on Thursday. Roads will be slick from Wednesday midday through Thursday evening, as we'll still be in kind of lighter snow and snow flurries all the way probably maybe even until Friday morning. Friday morning should be okay, though. By the time you actually get to Friday morning, could still be, side roads could be a little slick, but I think for the most part we'll be okay. School cancellations or early dismissals are possible Wednesday, very likely on Thursday. The late openings on Friday, I don't think so. I think Friday school happens on time, but maybe a delay in a couple of spots where the side roads are still a little tough on Friday. Yeah, lots of details. Thanks for joining the podcast, podcast. This is not a podcast. This is just a YouTube video. Want to give a quick shout out to my patrons. They help support what I do here at the West River Weather Guy. You should subscribe to my channel so that when I do special forecasts like this, you don't miss them. And I will be back tomorrow with an updated look at what's going on, probably sometime in the afternoon when I get that forecast out to you. All right. Thanks for joining, for watching.